Hello and welcome again to the Workers Credit Union Studios here at FATV. I'm Scott May and this is North Central Journal. And joining me for today's show is Roy Nascimento, the CEO and President of the North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce. Roy?
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me on.
Once again, good to see you. It's been a
see
year,
you.
but
Yes.
you still look great.
Thank you. You're too kind. So do you.
You know, I mentioned we talked to a year ago. We did a similar interview with you, and you said at the time that business recovery, and this is all related to the pandemic, was one of the biggest challenges, that so many small businesses in particular were challenged and struggling. Now, a year later, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Are you seeing improvements?
Well, there is. Yeah, it certainly has been a very challenging situation since March of 2020 when the COVID pandemic hit. Unfortunately, with the surge, you know, businesses are continuing to struggle as well as residents with kind of navigating the changing face of COVID-19. So there certainly are challenges, but there's also opportunities, and there are a lot of businesses out there that I speak to that are positive and looking forward to the future and cautiously optimistic. So we are cautiously optimistic as well. We're trying to help our members and small businesses here in North Central Massachusetts navigate all of these changes and just get by and be there in the end when this eventually does pass, and it will pass.
You know, one of the things that we went through here at FATV because of the pandemic was kind of a need to change the way we did things. And Zoom was, you know, a big part of became a big part of everyone's lives. Certainly here at FATV with the meetings that we cover, most of them were on our Zoom meetings, and some continued to be so. What are some of the things you're seeing in the business world that were changes that have become standard operating procedure now?
Well, I think it differs by the type of business. You know, there's different industries, and COVID has impacted different industries in different ways. I think the biggest challenge right now that we're hearing from our members and the business community is around the labor force stuff. You know, every business I talk to, regardless of industry, regardless of the type of business, they're just having a tough time finding qualified, skilled workers. So I think that's the biggest change, is how businesses are really going about recruiting qualified, skilled workers, finding them, retaining them, offering more flexibility, offering greater wages and greater benefits. So we're seeing those changes. I think the starting wage for some of these entry-level positions working at a restaurant and food service type businesses has significantly increased, because those jobs are the ones that have been significantly impacted, and frontline kind of workers, and that there's a great deal of demand for. So we're seeing that kind of thing, and just a lot of flexibility. But a lot of it, you know, it's been a challenge for businesses. You know, they have to navigate this. Just think of a small business, a restaurant. You know, their customers are coming in. You have different types of customers. Some might be comfortable with their server, being vaccinated and maybe not wearing a mask. Others are not going to feel so comfortable with that. So the restaurant has to navigate that and has to keep its own employees safe and its customers safe. So these create challenges, but every business is, businesses are navigating this well. They are adapting. They're being innovative and finding ways to continue their businesses and continue to provide the services that they provide to their customers here in North Central Massachusetts.
Is another one of those changes we're talking about the working remotely, working from home, being able to work virtually from anywhere in the United States, really?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And we there's been a lot written about that and a lot reported about that in the media about businesses allowing their employees to work remotely. Here in North Central Massachusetts, we've certainly seen that. But we're also a region where, if you look at our industries, the four largest industries, one of them is healthcare. Another one is manufacturing. Those are two industries that are among the largest employers here in North Central Massachusetts. And those are both industries where it's really hard to work remotely. If you're in healthcare, you're a frontline worker, so you have to be there. Same with manufacturing. So we certainly have seen businesses that are doing that. But manufacturers, healthcare, you can't do that. A lot of these small businesses that are front-facing businesses like restaurants and retail shops, they have to be there for their customers, so that you can't go remote, right? Mm-hmm. So But certainly there are employers that are doing that and providing flexibility and adapting to survive and thrive in this environment.
A year ago, we talked about the business loan and grant programs that were rolling out at the time to help businesses because of the pandemic. Are those still in play and available?
Some of them are. So obviously, a lot of those were driven by the response from the federal government to COVID-19. So things like the Payroll Protection Program has ended, and so we provided quite a bit. We did about $3 million from March of 2020 through June of 2021, and half of those loans, of that $3 million in loans, were PPP loans. So those were through the SBA. And we're incredibly proud of the work that we've done around lending because we helped support a lot of small businesses that needed support during a really difficult time. And our average loan was very small. It was about $20,000. And we went as, I think our smallest loan was about $2,500. So a full range of loans and really helped out a lot of small businesses. So some of those loan programs were certainly still actively providing loans to small businesses that need loans to get by. And we have some very attractive rates and very flexible terms in terms of the repayment. But some of those programs, like the PPP program, has ended.
This is part of the North Central Mass Corporation loan programs?
And that's, I should bring that up. So we have, underneath the chamber, the umbrella of the chamber, we have our economic development arm, which is called the North Central Massachusetts Development Corporation. Right. And the Development Corporation is certified as a community development financial institution by the U.S. Treasury, and is also is an SBA, Small Business Administration, micro lender. So that allows us to provide some loans. And we've been doing this since the 1990s from an economic development standpoint, really to create jobs and create new businesses in the community, as well as help existing businesses. So because we had that foundation, we were able to provide these emergency loans during COVID-19, thanks to the support that we got from our members, as well as state and federal government.
Are the number of loans being administered, is that number going up?
Yes, actually it has. Not only early on in the pandemic, we saw a lot of a need for emergency loans, and that kind of shifted. A funny thing happened during the pandemic is that shifted towards more startup loans. So and it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but we actually have seen a significant growth in new business startups during the pandemic. And that's not unusual. When we see, our experience has been whenever there's an economic downturn, many people start to think about entrepreneurship. They start to think about starting their own business. Right. Perhaps they've been laid off from their employer if they worked for a larger company, and so they may need to until they can find permanent employment, or it may be that they've decided, well, I'm done with the rat race, corporate rat race. I'm going to start my own, hang up a shingle and start my own business, providing consulting, or my dream has always been to start a restaurant or a coffee shop. So they take that risk, they dive in and try to start that business, and that's where we can come in. We have a lot of resources. We provide a lot of technical assistance, one-on-one counseling, but we also provide loans to startup businesses and existing businesses that need capital for whatever reason. They typically can't get it through traditional sources. We don't compete with our banks or our credit unions. We're there from an economic development standpoint to provide these loans, and it has to create new investment in the community, it has to create new jobs in the community. But typically our typical loan client is someone who's starting a business, and that's why they can't get a loan. It's because it's considered too risky by the bank, because it's a startup and they're very conservative and they're regulated and they're supposed to be conservative. So we can be a little bit more flexible, and we'll take a look at that loan, and not in every case, but in cases where we can approve it, we'll be able to move forward and provide a loan. And these are typically small loans. We'll do as high as $250,000 now, but typically the loan is about $25,000.
Now let's talk a little bit more about that. If someone is looking for that kind of assistance, how do they go about finding more information?
They can contact the chamber. So we have Sandy Cataldo, who's our economic development manager, and Maribel Cruz, who's our community business advisor. are both the lead. We have several others on the team that do the underwriting and the actual lending, but they usually start the process. So we encourage people to talk to them. They can reach out to the chamber. They can call us, or they can, probably the best way to reach us is online on our website, northcentralmass.com, northcentralmass.com. All of our emails and our contact information is there, as well as an online portal where people can contact us directly, and we'll be happy to talk to them about their business.
Now, something we talked about a year ago is the establishment, and I want to get this right, the North Central Jobs Board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Remind us what that is, and is
Sure.
that still a hot topic?
Oh boy, is it! It's we've really seen a strong response to the Jobs Board. So we launched this Jobs Board just before the pandemic, and it's worknorthcentral.com. Again, that's worknorthcentral.com. That's the URL, and it's an online jobs board. And we have, I think we have about 1,100 jobs that are currently posted. So if one of your viewers goes to the Jobs Board, they can see a variety of jobs, and it's a geographically based jobs board. So it's just jobs in the 27 communities here in North Central Massachusetts. And it's been a great resource. We have a tremendous amount of traffic, a lot of visitors checking out the website, checking out the jobs board, a lot of job seekers and a lot of employers posting. And a lot of that, of course, is driven by what we talked about earlier, the fact that a lot of employers are having a tough time finding qualified, skilled workers. Right. So we created this jobs board really to help connect job seekers to employers. And then this past year, in September, we held a large in-person jobs fair called the Work North Central Jobs Fair. And that's going to be a new annual event that we plan on holding every year. We brought in employers, so there were about 45 employers that were there, and it was open to free for job seekers. But more importantly, besides having the employers there, we also had a lot of education and a lot of resources for job seekers built around the hiring event. So we had a lot of workshops, opportunities for career counseling, one-on-one job counseling or career counseling. We had some sessions on some industries that are growing here in the region, and how someone, if they wanted to change careers, could look at success in those industries. So it was a nice event. We're looking forward to having it continue and growing it every year as we host it in the fall.
Now, what is One North Central?
Great question.
Thank
So
you.
One North Central is the name of our big, new, bold regional economic development plan. And so we started this process about 18 months ago, and it is really a very comprehensive regional economic development plan. The last time we went through this, we do economic development plans on a regular basis, on an annual basis. But the last time we went through this kind of big kind of visioning and planning process in a comprehensive fashion like this was back in the 90s. And out of that, so much came out of that, that is still driving the economy now. Our lending program came out of that economic development planning process, because it was identified as a way to support economic development in the area by having capital. Our technical assistance program, our marketing, destination marketing work that we do that has been so instrumental in economic growth here in North Central Massachusetts came out of that original economic development planning process, because the economy was really in tough shape at the time. Fort Devens was closing. With that, thousands of jobs. We had some large employers that were downsizing, and the plan identified tourism and visitor dollars, attracting visitor dollars as a way to diversify our economy and grow our economy. And that has grown from $14 million in annual visitor spending to over $150 million for the region of visitors coming in, direct visitor spending, not including an indirect spending. So that was great, but that was back in the 90s. The economy has changed quite a bit here in North Central Massachusetts. So we wanted to really take a look at our economy here in North Central Massachusetts and take a dive into it, take a deep dive into the data and look at how it's changed and help develop a new blueprint to help guide our economy here in North Central Massachusetts for the next 20 years. Regions that do this type of thoughtful planning are the regions that are successful long term. So we developed this plan and launched it back in the fall, and it's called One North Central. And it included a lot of data, tremendous amount of data and research, included a lot of benchmarking. We took a look and compared ourselves, this region, with other regions throughout the country to see what we could learn from that process. It included a tremendous amount of focus groups and stakeholder interviews and different types of charrettes to get input from different residents and businesses and other stakeholders here in North Central Massachusetts. And it also looked at the economic development ecosystem here in North Central Massachusetts. And we asked the consultants that helped us guide this process to make some recommendations. We wanted some recommendations. What could we do to improve economic development here in North Central Massachusetts and really see, really advance the economy as well as the quality of life for our residents and businesses. And out of that came this One North Central plan. And now comes the challenging part. We have to implement this plan collectively with our communities here in North Central Massachusetts, which we're starting to do. But we're really excited about the plan. There are some really bold recommendations that we're looking to implement that will help drive the economy here in North Central Massachusetts.
Since you became the president and CEO of the Chamber, and I think that was, 2016, was it?
2015.
2015.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen change in terms of industry or business or the direction that things are going in here in North Central? What stands out to you?
I think the region has changed in terms of the perception of the region from the outside. I think there was a perception that maybe we weren't as business friendly as other regions of the state and other communities, and I think that's changed. I think there have been a lot of investments, a lot of changes, a lot of new players that have come on, and I think the region has really is very business friendly. Look at communities like Fitchburg. It's changed its permitting process to make itself more friendlier to businesses. It's invested in economic development staff. It's invested in its downtown. It's invested in improving its zoning. So there's been a lot of changes to make the community friendlier to businesses. And that's not just Fitchburg, it's also the region. So there's we're really obviously very bullish on North Central Massachusetts and the communities here in North Central Massachusetts. But the region, I think, is really well positioned to benefit from future growth. You're seeing we're very affordable. We have great education here. We've got a really pro-business government, pro-business partnerships in place to help support businesses and business growth.
One of the exciting things happening in Fitchburg, and we talked with Mayor Di Natale on the North Central Journal last month, is Amazon coming into Fitchburg, and that is going to be quite a development and a number of jobs coming out of that. Do you see some other similarities maybe in other areas where companies are looking to relocate out this way?
Absolutely, and that's just one example, and that's a big name.
Yeah.
But there's so many wins that Fitchburg has had in other communities, in Leominster and Gardner, and Devens isn't too far from us, and is still considered part of North Central Massachusetts. Right. Tremendous amount of activity that's happening there. But Fitchburg, take the example of Fitchburg. You mentioned Amazon. Well, there's so many other companies that have coming into Fitchburg. So many exciting developments happening. I just came from an event where our congressional delegation, our state legislative delegation, was presenting Fitchburg State University with a check for $3 million from the American Recovery Plan Act that will help spur the redevelopment of the theater block. How exciting is that for downtown Fitchburg's revitalization? And there's a lot of small businesses that are looking at Fitchburg and coming into Fitchburg, and that's really exciting. The Amazon's a big name, it draws a lot of attention, but let's not forget about all those smaller businesses that have an impact in our community in multiple ways. And in mid-sized businesses, there's a lot of companies that are looking at Fitchburg and a tremendous amount of growth, and we're a regional organization, so our other communities as well are experiencing tremendous growth, and there's a lot of positive things happening here in the community.
One of the things we wanted to make sure we touched upon was the North Central Mass Chamber Foundation Scholarship Program. And it's ongoing now. Give us the parameters of that, and is there a deadline where applications are needed to be in by for those scholarships?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So it's one of my favorite initiatives of the chamber. We have another affiliate under our umbrella called the North Central Mass Chamber Foundation, and that's our nonprofit charitable arm. And one of the things we do is provide these wonderful scholarships to these young men and women that are graduating from our high schools here in North Central Massachusetts. And that program our scholarship program started when the Chamber was founded back in the 80s. And when we started, we gave out 3 $1,000 scholarships. And now we're giving, 26 scholarships now?
Wow.
$2,000 each. That's grown over the years. And I think the last 5 years, we've been giving out about $52,000 in scholarships. So $52,000 a year in scholarships to help support these young men and women to continue their education and hopefully come back here to North Central Massachusetts. But it is, we've given out over $1 million since we started the scholarship program. And that just speaks to the generosity of businesses, because that's funded by our members, by businesses in the community that believe in education, believe in supporting our schools and our young men and women in North Central Massachusetts. So it's a great program. It's regional, so it truly is regional, and it covers all of North Central Massachusetts. The scholarship process has just started. I think the deadline is the end of February, or it might be the beginning of March. But if a student is interested in applying for a scholarship, then we encourage them to check with their guidance counselor, because the process starts with the guidance counselor. The applications actually have to be submitted by the school, so the school will select the applicants that they want to throw in the hat for consideration. And then we receive the application packets, and there's quite a bit of information that we need from each of the schools. And then we have a committee of members that review these applicants and make the ultimate decisions. And then what I love is we present them in May at a scholarship breakfast, which is always one of our signature events. We always get a great crowd at that breakfast, and it's so inspiring. I know you've been there, and it's so inspiring to hear these students and what they've accomplished. And just not only academically, because these are typically the top scholars at the school, but also in the community, what they've given back to the community and what they've accomplished in the community and what they're planning on studying. So it's something that is very, very inspiring to me. It's always one of my most popular events going to, and I know a lot of our members like that program as well. So thank you for bringing that up.
Now, you mentioned 27 communities, 27 cities and towns here in North Central Mass that are part of the North Central Mass Chamber. What are the benefits of membership?
Thank you. So we cover 27 communities here in North Central Massachusetts, our official service area, and we're a very dynamic chamber of commerce. I think we have a lot to offer businesses of all sizes. And our membership right now, we have about 700 members, and of all sizes, all industries, everything from the small mom and pop business to the largest employers here in North Central Massachusetts. The bulk of our members are what you'd consider small and mid-sized businesses. And we have a lot to offer. Very diverse membership base, so we have to have a lot to offer because businesses have different needs. Things like economic development that we talked about, we're very engaged in economic development. Advocacy, we are very involved. We have a full-time government affairs liaison who's a registered lobbyist that works with our members and helping them communicate their needs to City Hall, town halls, the State House, and their federal officials. We're very involved in talent and workforce. We have a lot of things like our jobs board that's absolutely free for members to post any opportunities they have with their company, and things like our jobs fair. A lot of businesses will join just for the networking, so they want to attend some of the events that we do. We do over 100 different forums, events, meetings every year. And many of those focused around different types of businesses and what their needs are. So a lot of members will join for that. We're also on the marketing side. We're locally, we're very engaged in social media, and in the state I think we're ranked within the top 10 of social media followers. So we have a very strong social media platform. So members like to take advantage of those marketing channels that we have, like our social media, like our website. We get a lot of traffic at our websites. We actually have multiple websites. And so members like to advertise, or they want to promote their business on our websites or on a social media. So we offer a lot of those types of opportunities as well.
Now we've just got a few minutes left, and there are two questions I have. What's ahead in 2022 that you can share with us? And tell us a little bit about the staff at the North Central Mass Chamber, the people that make up your team.
First of all, I have to say the people that make up our team, we have a great team, so I can't speak it highly enough of the team that we have. They're rock stars. They wake up every day and really are focused on trying to help our businesses here in North Central Massachusetts and help our economy here in North Central Massachusetts. That's our mission. We're dedicated towards that. So we have a great team. And what's ahead for the next year? Really, it's implementing our One North Central plan. And there's a lot in there. I encourage your viewers to check it out. It's on our website at northcentralmass.com, northcentralmass.com. We will have a lot to announce over the next few months. One thing to just to mention, this is in the One North Central plan. One of the key priorities in the One North Central plan is really around the workforce and really workforce development. So I can tell you and your viewers that we are doubling down on our talent and workforce initiatives. We have created a new position on our team and are dedicating resources to hiring someone just to focus on workforce development. We've always been very engaged, but we've never had someone focused 100% on the workforce stuff. So with that person, we're in the process now of trying to find someone, and we've posted the position. Besides that, we've also just received a grant from the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, a small grant to help us partner with Mount Wachusett Community College and the Spanish American Center to look at ways that we can partner and develop credentialing programs for minorities within North Central Massachusetts. We already have great partnerships with those organizations and others in North Central Massachusetts, but we're really excited about that because that's going to allow us to work more with them, and it could lead to stronger partnerships down the road. And then we're also going to be doing a study on workforce. We're commissioning a study to look at the workforce here in North Central Massachusetts and help us identify some solutions to some of the workforce challenges, and looking at ways we can get more people into the labor force here in the area. We know, looking at the data, that and this, we're not alone at this. The entire country is facing labor challenges, and we know a lot of this is driven by trends that we're seeing around demographics. We have a lot of people, the baby boomer generation, retiring, and we just don't have, we just don't have the workforce falling behind them to fill those positions. So we know it's not just COVID that's causing these labor issues, that there are some fundamental challenges that we have and we're going to continue to see these talent issues, these labor shortages long term. So we need to look at solutions to that, because everyone is facing those same challenges. And we know that if we have to be successful, we really have to compete for the talent and retain that talent and develop that talent. So it's going to be a real priority for us here as a region.
Roy, I want to thank you again for being with us. It's always great talking with you, and thank you and your team for everything you do here for the communities in North Central, and we will look forward to talking again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for everything.